Hi, this is Dave Herman with Salt Lake City Fire Department. This is a brief video on target solutions for end users. Today's date is February 24th, 2017. So when you first log into the system, what you'll go ahead and do is use your full city email address and a password that was provided to you in a separate email. And when you log in for the first time, go ahead and press the login button. Please refrain from pressing the new user button because what that will do is create a secondary account for you. Once you log into the system, there are several options available to you, obviously. The first thing I'd like to do is point out this arrow up at the upper right-hand corner of the screen. When you hit that drop-down, there are two options that appear. You can either sign out of the site or go to My Profile. Under your profile, there are some things you can do here. Number one, you can go ahead and update your password or your security questions by hitting the Edit tab here or hyperlink next to these areas. You can also check out how you are listed inside of the organization. Basically what we did when we set up the system was just copy and pasted your Telestaff roster information inside of the profile here. So I would check this out and make sure that it's accurate. It'll be easier to log training for you if this information is up to date. The next thing I'd like to point out is this button up here. When you click on that, what it brings up are a series of notifications. This can include things such as training has been logged on your behalf, or one of your credentials is about to expire. If you click this See My Notifications, what will happen is it will show you kind of everything that has come up. If you want to, you can delete these messages by hitting this X over here on the right-hand side of the screen. And if you want to see notifications that were in the trash, click this Trash button, and that will show you stuff that is currently in your recycle bin. The main screen has two widgets here. The first one is this thing called Bulletin Board. It currently has a Google Calendar on it, and we are contemplating eliminating this and actually putting in stuff like near-miss notifications and potentially training opportunities as well. So watch for some changes over here in the bulletin board. On the left panel, we have what's called the schedule. The schedule basically has a bunch of different notifications inside of it. First of all, it will have assignments. It will give you an indication of your task books or credentials and what the expiration dates are. And let me show you a couple of these. Anytime you see the letter A anywhere in the system, it represents an assignment. An assignment is basically nothing more than a means of actually entering your training, and assignments can look totally different just depending on how they were created. In this case, what we have is this thing called End of 2016 Policy Review. The administration is looking at the possibility of actually putting out policy updates through Target Solutions. In this case, it's simply asking me to do two things. Read these two documents and then check, indicating that I have read them. And in this case, I cannot actually check the boxes until I've actually opened the PDF documents here. Once that's complete, I simply submit it as complete, and I'm done with that assignment. In this case, what I have is an assignment that's been given to me back in December. In this case, I'm seeing a book. Wherever you see the book icon, it means that that is a course that was created by Target Solutions specifically. And when I click on this, what it does is bring up a course that I can just go ahead and go through. Courses will typically consist of documents that you read. There might be videos involved, and then typically there is a test at the very end. Up in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, simply hit the Previous or Next button to go through the slides. In this case, I've got 35 of them all together. And once you're done, you will receive credit for that course. The next thing I want to show you is My Assignments. My Assignments is basically just those things, things that have been given to you either by a specialty group or basically by a learning manager. And all I have to do for these assignments is just simply click on them, complete whatever is requested, and then they will disappear from the assignment list. Self-assign is something that we are not currently using right now. Self-assign would be for those types of courses that are not tied to a task book or one of your credentials. So we may decide at some point in time in the future to do leadership training, and we could actually put a series of courses here, like if you're studying for the captain's test. And basically what you would do is simply self-assign whatever course is here. In this case, we're not really using it, and so if we do in the future, I will let you know. My history gives me a listing of everything that I've done in Target Solutions over basically since the system went online and moving forward. Kind of gives me completion dates for all of the stuff that I've done so far. And if I want basically a listing that I can export, what I'm going to do is just simply click this button right here, and what it will do is open up an Excel spreadsheet showing the name of the course, the completion date, and the total number of hours for each one of those things. And so it'd be helpful for recertification, or if you simply need a full history of everything that you've done in the system. Now, my credentials is where I anticipate a lot of individuals will be spending a great deal of time. Basically, credentials are things such as certifications, and there are also some ISO credentials that every department member have been assigned. So in this case, I've been given the credentials of EMT, Training Tracker for Firefighter, which is an ISO compliance credential, and I've got an ARF cert and a HAZMAT cert. When I open this up, basically I see a couple of things here. First of all, I've got an overall indication of the number of hours that I have to have done and what I basically need to get done before the expiration date of this credential. Down here are the individual categories for the credential. And in the medical side of things, for both EMT and paramedic, there's simply two different categories: in-person training and online hours. If I hit this drop-down arrow, basically what it brings up are a series of activities that I can go ahead and do myself, and then there's a series of online hours as well. Each of these are courses, so basically if I want to, I can go ahead and take this particular course, go through slide by slide as I showed you previously, and once it's complete, I'll be credited 1 hour. And what you'll see is basically this slider increase over time as I knock this stuff out, or as training is entered for me for a particular credential. The next thing I want to show you is the ISO compliance tracker. As I mentioned, every department member has been listed under an ISO credential. There are 3 different trackers in the system. There's General Firefighter, Driver Operator, which corresponds with Engineer, and then there's Company Officer. As before, there are individual categories of training. And in this case, what it's saying is that I've got 0 of 0 for driver training because I'm not an engineer. I don't have that particular certification. If you are an engineer, you should see driver training inside of here. Likewise, for officer, it's saying 0 out of 0 because I don't have that particular credential. If you're a company officer, you should see a requirement for training hours here. And as before, I simply hit the drop-down arrow, and it basically will give me a series of assignments and activities. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that basically the activities and assignments that are listed under these categories can only be utilized once using this method for the credential period. So if I go ahead and add an activity for live burn for myself, basically what's going to happen is that's going to show up at the very bottom of the list upon completion, and it'll be grayed out, indicating that it can't be utilized again. But a learning manager, a company officer, or a captain can actually assign training hours to you using this activity over and over again. So that's pretty much it as far as credentials go. One of the nice things about Target Solutions is that credentials basically can be applied to multiple things. So for example, any training on the ARF cert side of things, most of these things have also been linked to the ISO category that's appropriate. So if you do some of these things, cargo hazards for example, most of these categories have been linked to an ISO credential. So when you do training here, you'll also receive credit for the corresponding ISO tracker. So we basically are able to track training a couple of different ways and give training to the department for appropriate ISO hours. The File Center is a place where training materials are dropped. So basically, if the medical division, for example, decides to go ahead and do training, they will probably categorize it into a folder. Like in this case, we have this naloxone. And basically, here are the materials that were actually included in the training. So this would be useful if you don't want to go through an activity again, or if you just want to review any of the training materials, such as in this case a PowerPoint or a video. You can access it in the appropriate folder here inside of the File Center. Events allows us to go ahead and schedule events and open it up for open enrollment. So for example, the training division will commonly get seats at a UFRA course. And so let's say that there are 6 or 10 or whatever seats available. You'll receive an email saying that that course is available and you can enroll here for that course. In this case, I simply go to Open Events, I click on it, review the details associated with it, and if I want to go, I can say, okay, it looks like there are plenty of spots available, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the Enroll button, and basically I'm showing enrolled in the event at this point in time. Now if somebody else comes, they're going to see capacity 9 at this point in time. If I want to, I can go ahead and add this to my external calendar by clicking this link. When I click it, a file will download, and double click on that file and it will automatically import into whatever calendar you use. Finally, we have this thing called the forum. The forum is basically a chat area. I don't see us using this a whole lot, but there might be some discussions among specialties that may be valuable to use in here. So I can either add a new topic. If there's a topic in process, I can simply click on it, read through the thread that individuals have been talking about or communicating. And if I want to reply, I simply hit the reply button, type my message in, and hit submit. And then it'll appear in the bottom of a string. So as far as Target Solutions goes for end users, that's pretty much it. Please watch for some follow-up training for learning managers and content creators. That's all for now. Thank you for your time. Bye.